Okay, welcome back to the deep dive. You're here because you want the core insights, the really essential stuff, without wading through endless text.
That's right.
And today, we're tackling some, well, pretty mind-bending teachings. Sources that essentially claim that right now, even as you listen, you might be asleep.
It's definitely a startling claim. We're drawing from figures like Osho, Gurdjieff, and related traditions, and their message is stark. You are fundamentally asleep.
So our mission today is to really explore that. What does this sleep actually look like? What are the symptoms?
Exactly. And crucially, what's the single prescription these sources offer for, well, for waking up?
It's fascinating because this isn't a new idea. You see it across centuries, this core instruction, be awake. Simple words, right?
Deceptively simple,
Mhm.
because the sources argue that our normal waking state, it's incredibly fragile, just more like a dream we have with our eyes open.
A waking dream, okay.
Yeah, where our actions are mostly automatic, mechanical. We'll get into why that is.
And we'll look at that machine analogy, how people can function like robots.
And why psychologists sometimes study people almost like rats in a maze because of this mechanical behavior.
Which sounds harsh, but there's a twist, isn't there?
There is. It's about that tiny percentage who aren't mechanical. Plus, we'll unpack this idea that the only real sin is simply missing the mark, not being present.
All right, let's dive in. So the central idea that we're asleep, even when we're walking around, working, talking, how does that actually manifest? What does this mechanical state feel like?
Well, it feels like being on autopilot. Gurdjieff's observation is key here. He said most people function like very efficient machines or robots.
Efficient is the word. We get stuff done.
We absolutely do. Complex tasks, jobs, routines, we manage it all. But the critical missing piece is awareness while doing it. The mind and body are just reacting based on past conditions.
And that connects directly to behavioral science, right? Pavlov, Skinner, their work was all about predictable responses.
Exactly. And here's where the sources make that really provocative claim. They suggest Pavlov and Skinner, they were 99.9% right about human beings.
Wow, 99.9%.
That's the claim, that most of us operate based on stimuli, rewards, conditioning, predictable patterns, just like the rats responding to bells or livers in their experiments.
So that predictability, that mechanical nature is the default.
For the vast majority, yes. It's the sleep state we're talking about.
Okay, if that's the case, if we're like flawed machines, what's the main glitch, the biggest defect in our programming, so to speak?
It's the lack of awareness itself. That's the core issue. And this leads to that fascinating idea of the single sin.
Ah, yes, you mentioned this. It's about the word's origin.
Precisely. You trace sin back to its Hebrew root, and it literally means to miss, like an archer missing the target.
Not about morality, then, more about accuracy, precision.
Exactly. It reframes everything. The only real failure, the only sin, is unawareness, failing to be present, failing to hit the mark of the present moment.
And the claim is, if you are aware, sin becomes impossible.
That's the assertion. Transformation is immediate when awareness is total. The problem is, we try to fix these unconscious mechanical actions with conscious effort. We try to force change.
And that leads to that vicious cycle we all know.
Oh, yeah. The classic example is anger. You get angry. You think, right, next time I won't get angry. You put in effort.
And then you get angry again.
You fail. Then comes the guilt, the repentance. I must try harder. And the cycle just repeats.
Why? Why doesn't the effort work?
Because the effort is still coming from the periphery, from the same mechanical mind. You haven't changed the underlying lack of awareness. You're just polishing the machine, not waking up the driver. It's rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, as the saying goes.
That really hits home. It even applies to things like love, doesn't it? The sources talk about falling in love.
Yes. Why falling? Because it implies a lack of control and unconsciousness, almost like an intoxication. It happens to you when you're sort of dreaming, unaware.
So the alternative with awareness isn't falling.
It's rising in love. Rising suggests consciousness, choice, clarity, presence. It's deliberate. That's the fundamental difference between the mechanical life and the aware life.
Okay, if our default is this sort of robotic state, this sleep, where does it actually live inside us? This leads us to the mind's geography, which seems way more complex than just conscious and unconscious.
It is. Freud gave us that idea of the conscious mind being just the tip of the iceberg, maybe 1/10. Jung expanded it with the collective unconscious.
And the sources use an analogy here.
A really vivid one. Imagine your entire being is this magnificent palace, but You're living just out on the porch.
Just the porch.
Just the porch. That tiny conscious mind is the porch, and you've completely forgotten the vast palace behind you. You mistake the porch for the whole building.
Wow. And we stay comfortable on that porch, ignorant of the palace, partly because of our intellect. This brings up that distinction between philosophy and religiousness.
Yes, and it's a critical distinction. Philosophy offers explanations, theories, frameworks. It builds these intricate intellectual systems.
Which sounds helpful.
It can feel helpful. But ultimately, the sources argue, philosophy functions like a kind of tranquilizer. It helps you sleep better, feeling intellectually satisfied within your dream world because you have a neat explanation for it.
But religiousness in this context isn't about organized religion, right?
Not at all. It's not dogma. It's presented as a technique, a shock to the system,
Shock.
to wake you up. Right now, religiousness, in this sense, doesn't offer explanations. It offers methods, practices, ways to achieve immediate transformation.
There's a story that illustrates this, isn't there? Mullen Nasruddin.
Yes, the Nasruddin story about the father worried about his daughter. He asks Nasruddin for help. Nasruddin suggests, give her milk. Problem persists. Okay, give her curd. Still there. Cheese, butter, sugar, alcohol.
And the end result?
A hangover. The point being, philosophy keeps giving you more complex products of the mind, better explanations for the hangover, essentially. But it never breaks the cycle. It just makes you more comfortable within the sleep state.
Because it keeps you thinking, analyzing.
Precisely. And that thinking mechanism is the real trap. It's tied directly to time.
Okay, this is crucial. The mind, the thinking process itself, can't actually operate in the present moment.
That's the rule. Think about it. The mind needs space. It functions either in the past, retrieving memories, or in the future, projecting hopes, fears, plans.
So when you're fully present, say watching a sunset or truly listening to someone,
Thinking stops. Maybe just for a flash, but it stops. Why? Because the present moment is too immediate. There's no room for the mind to insert itself, to label, categorize, analyze.
how does that work? What's the mechanism?
As soon as you think that's a beautiful sunset, you've already packaged the experience, made it past tense, filed it away. Thinking requires that gap between observer and observed, between what just happened and what might happen next. Being truly present collapses that gap.
So living in thought means living trapped in time, past or future. And this defines two ways of moving through life, horizontal and vertical.
Exactly. Horizontal movement is the everyday grind, moving from thought to thought, task to task, goal to goal, always driven by something else, some future outcome. Money, status, the weekend. That's movement within time.
And that, the sources say, is sleep.
A motivated movement means sleep, because the motivation pulls you out of the present towards a future point. You're not in the action. You're aiming beyond it.
So vertical movement is the escape path.
It's the alternative. It's movement into the depth of the present moment, into eternity, which is always now. And critically, it's movement without motivation.
Without motivation, how does that work?
It arises spontaneously, out of joy, out of sheer delight in the activity itself, not for any external reward or goal. It's an end in itself, like dancing just to dance. An unmotivated movement means awareness.
Okay, but here's where the friction comes in, right? Control. If we're told our efforts to control our anger, our greed, our habits are just part of the mechanical sleep, well, the immediate reaction is, but we have to control ourselves. Society would collapse. What's the alternative if not control?
It's a valid concern. But the sources argue control is a very poor and frankly exhausting substitute for awareness. When you control an emotion, say anger, you're just suppressing it, pushing it down. It's still there, festering.
You haven't actually changed anything fundamental.
Exactly. You haven't shifted the plane of your being. Awareness is the alternative. The claim is, when you are truly aware, things like anger or jealousy, they simply don't arise in the same way. Or if they flicker, they don't take root because the underlying mechanism, the machine, isn't running the show anymore.
So awareness makes control unnecessary.
In a profound way, yes. It makes the need for control dissolve. This points to that fundamental split in methodologies we see, particularly between East and West.
Right. In the West, we tend towards analysis, psychology.
Psychoanalysis, therapy. It often boils down to analyzing, digging into the past, understanding the why, trying to intellectually adjust our reality, going round and round in thought.
Which can provide insights, surely.
Insights, yes. Explanations. But the sources argue analysis, being an intellectual process, can only offer intellectual adjustments. It rarely leads to fundamental transformation. It's still operating within the realm of the mind, the porch.
Whereas the Eastern approach, distilled down,
It's reduced to one word: Witnessing.
Witnessing. What does that entail exactly?
It's described as a radical revolution. It's pure consciousness, simply observing, passively watching your body, your thoughts, your emotions, without judgment, without trying to interfere or change anything.
Like watching clouds drift across the sky.
That's a classic analogy. You are the sky, vast and unaffected. Thoughts, feelings, sensations. They're just clouds passing through. You remain the watcher, detached, aloof.
And this practice of witnessing leads somewhere.
It leads to centering, moving from the periphery, the ego, to your true center.
Okay, periphery versus center, the ego being the periphery.
Yes. The ego is that collection of thoughts, memories, identities, the sense of I that's built up over time. It's inherently tied to the other, what people think of you, how the world treats you.
So actions from the periphery are reactions.
Always. Someone insults you, the other acts. You react with anger or hurt. It's a mirror effect. The periphery reacts. The center, however, is described using a beautiful term.
Relata.
Relata.
Meaning?
It means action that originates purely from within you. It's not a reaction to something external. It's a spontaneous expression of your own being. Like the sun shining, it doesn't shine because of who's standing there. It just shines. Action from the center is self-generated.
That distinction feels powerful. Reaction versus self-generated action. The Buddha story illustrates this perfectly, doesn't it?
It really does. When those villagers were hurling abuse at him, just vile insults, he listened silently, patiently.
Didn't say a word back.
Not while they were still caught up in it. Afterwards, when they'd gone and his disciple asked why he didn't react, Buddha essentially said he waits until the event is no longer dominating his inner space. He responds when he is ready, from his own centered place, not just as a knee-jerk reaction to their energy. That's acting from the center.
It requires incredible presence.
It is presence. And the final piece, the proof perhaps, that awareness works spontaneously without forcing things, is that story of Nagarjuna and the thief.
Right, the thief who wanted to be a disciple but couldn't stop stealing.
A classic. He goes to Nagarjuna, lays it bare. I want to follow you, but I'm a compulsive thief. I can't stop.
And Nagarjuna doesn't tell him to stop.
No. He accepts him immediately. Just one condition. Be aware. Whatever you do, stealing included, just be aware while you do it.
Just watch yourself stealing.
Watch everything. The planning, the act, the feelings, everything. The thief tries. And what happens?
He comes back weeks later.
And says stealing has simply stopped. It just disappeared. He didn't fight the urge. He brought awareness to it. And the habit, which thrived in unconsciousness, couldn't survive the light of that awareness. It dissolved on its own.
So transformation isn't about effort, but about awareness letting things fall away naturally.
That's the core message. It's a gift of awareness, not a result of control.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive has really shaken up the basic idea of what it means to be awake. The key thing I'm taking away is the split between intellectual understanding, which can actually keep us asleep, like a tranquilizer, and this direct, almost shocking awareness.
That's a great summary. That distinction is crucial. And if you connect it all, the implication is pretty radical. Wakefulness, awareness, is life itself.
Not just breathing and functioning.
The sources would say no. If you're just breathing, eating, working, but doing it all unconsciously, locked in that mechanical past-future loop, you're basically just vegetating, as they put it, living only in the body, not the fullness of being.
But if you cultivate watchfulness, witnessing,
Then all habits, good or bad, conditioned responses, they just start to dissolve. Because consciousness, true awareness, is fundamentally incompatible with the state of being a machine.
So we talked about horizontal movement motivated by goals, keeping us in time, meaning sleep, and vertical movement unmotivated, in the moment, meaning awareness. If you strip away the usual motivations, what does that final state look like?
And that leaves us with a really provocative thought to mull over, doesn't it? If almost everything you do is usually driven by getting somewhere, achieving something, what would it feel like to move through your day simply out of, well, sheer joy?
Just doing things for the sake of doing them.
Exactly. Cleaning the house, not because it needs to be clean, but finding a kind of delight in the movement, the presence within the task itself. Making breakfast just for the joy of combining the ingredients. That unmotivated action, springing purely from your being in that moment, that, the sources suggest, is the taste of true wakefulness.
Moving without a target, just for the delight of moving.
That's the essence of it, the difference between sleeping and waking. Something profound to maybe carry with you and just notice as you go about the rest of your day.